Yo, uh, it's me once again, bipolar. So, basically, I saw that one of my best friends, Noble Rogers, made a video somewhat like this. It's basically like telling his story, all the things that happened in his life. I figured I'd do one of my own. So, nothing else to say, so we're gonna dive into it. Growing up, I had a pretty basic childhood. I lived in the suburbs and shit. My childhood wasn't great, but wasn't exactly too much of a tragedy either. My childhood wasn't exactly tragedy of sorts, but it wasn't good either. Growing up, I used to live in Florida till I was like 9 years old. Growing up, I was always isolated from other people. I had maybe one or two friends back in elementary school. People didn't like me all too much. And that was because my mind worked a lot different than the average person. I was an undiagnosed autistic. So I obviously acted very different from everyone else. And yeah, I had one or two friends that actually liked hanging around me. I had a friend. I had a best friend since the year I was born. We were inseparable. We hung out all the time. We'd always be hanging out at each other's houses, going out and doing stuff. We eventually grew apart. I haven't talked to him we haven't had a conversation in 3 years. The reason we started growing apart is because it was like June, May 2017. Our house was falling apart for years. I remember going to sleep, having to have having the faulty roof, water dripping from the roof, having the buckets below the water, towels, shit like that. Our house was not the best, so we sold our house and we moved to a different city. We moved to a different city and I found a new friend there. He was a little bit more of a troublemaker than I was, but we were good friends either way. I was 9 when we lived in that different city. We were only there for about a year. Because a lot of stuff was happening in my sister's life that I'm not going to talk about. Certain stuff that involved my sister and my father. And the things that were happening caused us to move to Ohio. It was 2 years after the stuff had started happening. Well, after my mom found out, had heard what was happening. She took us away a whole 2 years afterwards. So, yeah, that was June 2018 when we moved out to Ohio. May or June, whatever it was. We moved to Ohio. We stayed at my uncle's house for a couple months, a month or two. Shit. Excuse me. Hold on, my nose is kind of stuffy. Okay. Yeah, it was a month or two we stayed there before we got in an apartment somewhere in Columbus. That's when I went into intermediate school. I don't know if a lot of you know what that is. It's basically like a different... I don't know either, but it's like for 5th and 6th grade students or some shit. I still don't fully know what it is, but it's where I went. As people who know me know, a few months later, September of the same year, my father took his own life. He was an alcoholic. And it was one of the nights where he was drunk that he took his own life. I wasn't told how it happened. I was obviously told that he died. I wasn't told the real way it happened. I believed until 2023. For 5 years, I believed that the reason he died was because of a common illness. And my 10-year-old self, I believed that. Growing up in Ohio, I was once again isolated and didn't have many friends. I had like 1 or 2 friends where I lived. And just a year later, we moved out of that apartment too, and I once again lost all my friends. While we were in that apartment, my mother was reuniting and getting close again with her childhood sweetheart. He's much older than her. He is, I think, 7 years older than her. It was when we were living in that apartment. He lived somewhere else at the time. They would meet up every so often. He would come to our apartment. We would go to his house. And I remember after like the first or second time meeting him, my mom would she'd ask me if I liked him. I said no. And from there, we met. And after I said no, I didn't like him, she took me to meet him a couple more times. And she was like, well, that sucks because he likes you, you know. And are you sure you don't like him? It felt like she was trying to guilt trip me into liking him in a way. At that point, still 10-year-old me, not wanting to, make my mother upset, I lied and I said yes. And so, that year, I think it was October or something, not even a month after my father had taken his own life, my mother had started dating this other man. Not even a month after my father had taken his life, and they were married for like 4 or 5 years or something. I think it was 2014. I don't know. They had been together a long time before that, though. It's 2014 or 2012, I don't know, when they got married. But they were together a long time before that. And not even a month after he passed, she started dating this other man, and they were very close. Almost off the bat. And not even 2 months after they had started dating, the next thing I know, we had bought a house with him. We were now living with this random man who I knew nothing about. And, honestly, after we had started living with him, things only became worse for me. There was no other way. It didn't get better at all. My life only got worse and worse. I started having time limits that I'd never had before. At one point, I was only allowed an hour a day on, like, the PlayStation 4 that my dad had given me. And my phone at the time, I didn't have a phone with service on it. It was merely a game phone. I had no social media. Which, to be fair, I feel like before high school, kids don't really need all sorts of social media and stuff, but, it wasn't just that I was going through. My sister was in and out of our home. Not to place any blame or anything on her. I would never do that. I love my sister very much. And I will be explaining a lot more about her later. Things were very stressful for her. Because with the way my mom was, and the way Mike was, and they didn't treat her very well at all. Eventually, She ran away from home for good. After we had just got her back for like a couple days, after we had just got her back in the house, she left me a note. She was explaining, I can't exactly remember what all it entailed, but it was basically how none of this was my fault, and how she loved me, and she was like one of the most important. She was one of the most important people in my life. So I was crying after I found out, and my mother noticed me crying about how my sister left. And instead of deciding to try and comfort her son about what was happening, trying to comfort her son, or try to ease that kind of pain, do you know what she told me? She told me, hold up, that's perfect. Keep that face. Keep that face just for a second. I'm gonna take a picture and I'm gonna send it to her and show her what she's doing to this family. If you had doubts about her being a terrible person, please revoke them. Yeah, so that happened. And with moving out of the apartment and moving into the house, we had to move cities as well, once again. So I once again moved schools and lost any friends I had. We moved to another intermediate school where I spent my 6th grade. I was 11 in that school year. I don't think I got any special friends that time. I don't think I did. She allowed, as time went on in that house, she progressively started allowing him more and more access to control in my life. Allowing him more and more access to try and treat me however he wanted to treat me. And if I didn't let him do that, I would get yelled at by the both of them. Even though that man is not my parent at all. And he never will be. He never has been. And eventually, you'll never guess how long we stayed at that place. Just a year. We started searching for other places to live, and eventually we found the place that I live at right now. We moved here in May of 2020. May 20th. And this is where I live now. Only for a few more months, but still. It was worst here. It was worst when I was 12 years old. I was still I was 12, almost a teenager, but I was still mentally just a kid. And kids love snacks. if I asked to eat anything outside of just the three primary meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, sometimes if I just asked to eat lunch, he would throw a pissy fit and he would heavily body shame me. He would make Humpty Dumpty jokes. He would make jokes that I would pop like a balloon if I kept eating anything else. He compared me to a very overweight member of our family, often. And I will give credit, my mother did tell him to stop many times, but that's all she would do. She would just talk to him and tell him to stop. And she wouldn't fight any harder than that. And that's probably why he did it for so long. You can't just keep saying the same thing over and over and expect it to work every time. Eventually it doesn't hold the same weight anymore. She never fought hard enough for me. And the whole thing went on long enough to have lasting effects on my life. Living with him every day the way I have been for the past 7 years has made an impact, a negative impact on who I am today. I don't have confidence in myself. I hate what I look like. I want to try and change it, but I've never had enough time in my life. Being influenced by his toxic behavior has had impacts on who I am as well. It's undiagnosed, but I have severe anger issues. I don't have a healthy output from my anger. I have music, but it's not enough. Sometimes when I'm very angry, I feel like actual serious desires to severely hurt people. I'm not trying to be corny or anything, but it's what actually happens. And I don't want it to, but it's how I turned out because of him. And I've tried to talk to my mother about him, about the negative impact he's been having on my life, but she always waters it down every single time. She waters down the horrible impact he's had on me and the genuine hatred I have for him. She waters it down to we just don't get along. We don't agree on things. And that's not even close to how serious this is. Throughout middle school, I was not only isolated, but I was starting to actually be made fun of as well for the way I acted, for the way I thought, for my autism. I was bullied for my autism. Still undiagnosed, but they always called me autistic, as if to make fun of the disorder. My mental health was already starting to decline because I liked this one girl for a very long time and she never liked me back. my mental health was already declining because of that throughout the latter half of 8th grade and throughout my freshman year of high school. Nothing got better in freshman year. It only got worse once again. People still make fun of me. Teachers were biased against me. I remember having this one very old lady as my algebra teacher. I had a 504 plan set in place. I had a 504 plan set in place in 8th grade. And she believed that I didn't need a 504 plan. I don't know why. She tried to argue I don't need a 504, but whatever. I think she just doesn't like neurodivergence. Because she's a stuck-up old bitch. But, Lambert, if you're seeing this, I said what the fuck I said. I hated her. A lot. The school, I was kind of a delinquent in freshman year. But at the same time, I didn't fucking understand, like, I wasn't mature at that time. I didn't have enough emotional intelligence to be mature and shit. I don't know how to describe it, but whatever. They threatened to place me in juvenile because of one math paper. I had a lot of detention, lunch detention and shit. If you've ever heard of a lunch detention, it's like staying with like a staff member, being watched over while you're eating lunch. You don't get to go into the cafeteria and shit. It's like the lightest. It feels lighter than a warning to your parents, to be honest. A lunch detention doesn't do shit to teach you about the errors of your mistakes. It doesn't teach you not to do it again. I think at the end of the day, it's so light. And it's overall just, it's more annoying than it is a punishment. And I think for some people it could just encourage them to keep doing it. Just to, get them back or something. And that's why I got so many. And I think that might be one of the reasons why I got so many of them. It's not light enough to be considered a punishment. It's their substitute for actually teaching students how to be mature. I had a lot of those in the past. And I had refused to do one math paper, and they almost had me sent to juvenile because of it. Yeah. They didn't care about helping us to be better. They only cared about trying to make sure that you don't bother them again. My old school was very unfit for neurodivergent kids like myself. And they didn't try to make it fit either. I don't think they liked neurodivergent kids. I think they had a special hate towards them. So that mixing with the efforts of mixing with the pain of denial, all to the power of being bullied for your autism, my mental health was already declining fast enough Um, and then, like a couple days after I had passed freshman year and moved on, and a couple days after summer break started and I had passed freshman year, I was in the car in our driveway, having gotten back from grocery shopping, and my mother had me stay in the car and to have a talk, and that's when she told me the truth about how my father really died. And I feel like that was the final straw. I had started I had started developing depression throughout the summer of 2023. That was the year my mom told me. It started in June, and it's like it was fully developed by around September. Or October or something. And I still have it. I still have depression to this day, and as of recent, I feel it's been getting worse than it ever has. I don't know why. Nothing specific happened to cause it, but it's been getting worse. I think the last time I cried was like last week or something. And it could happen again any day. I've never self-harmed intentionally. Yet. I haven't done it yet. But I'm not certain if I can say that it'll never happen. I've never attempted suicide, but I can't say that that will never happen either. But I guess it's a good thing that I haven't died yet. A few people are responsible for that. First and foremost, my older sister. I hold my older sister responsible for the fact that I have not attempted suicide yet. And I've not committed suicide yet. She has saved my life multiple times, including when my most recent ex broke up with me. And for a few days, I blamed myself majorly for that fact. I blamed myself, not yet knowing that it was all just an act. I was not informed on the knowledge that I was being manipulated and dragged on I had pinned it on myself. I didn't know what I did, but but the way I thought it had to have been something. Because she was also one of the most important people of my life at that time. My sister was the one who broke me out of that and helped open my eyes to the truth. We were at the fair right around my birthday. It was around nighttime. We were at the fair because, number one, it's the fair. Why wouldn't I be at the fair? And number two, I was shooting the music video for Don't Know What I'm Gonna Do, the Going Through Changes remix. I showed her everything. The text message from my ex about needing to take a break because of feeling stressed from the beef and from the diss and other reasons. My sister said then that she felt like my ex was dragging me on and manipulating me. She said she had a feeling about that before we ever split. In all honesty, I should have listened to her earlier. I truly should have. I am very ashamed of myself for not doing so. And it was, I believe, August 29th, nighttime, that she had contacted me once again and helped me realize the truth of my ex's actions. This was before I ever got in contact with Chezzy Chaz. We got in contact on September 1st and settled the beef on that day. It was my sister who brought me up when I was at my lowest. I thank her very much for that. I'm very glad to have her as my older sister. Noble Rogers is the next person on this list. Me and Noble Rogers met back June 20th of 2025. I was in a bit of trouble because I had this song that I needed a collab on. I originally intended to have one of my cousins do the verse for it. The song is Still. The one you know today has Noble on it, but it was before I got him on it. I needed a verse. I wanted one of my cousins to do it. He said he would do it. Never did. So I was searching around all of BandLab looking for a collab. Looking for someone to collab with. I was in the communities tab. I opened up one community. I saw a post from Noble back in March. Saying he needed someone on a song from youth years. I asked if he still needed help with the song. I think he said it got scrapped, but he has another one I could help on. And so we followed each other on BandLab. He invited me to the song. The song ended up being Bipolar off of The Ride. I did my verse. I invited him to Still. He did his verse. We added each other on Instagram. And then we made Beware, the warning diss towards Chezzy Chaz. which I very much regret making. And it took a couple days and we were just best friends. He's one of the reasons I'm alive today. He's one of the reasons I make rap. Because I feel like if I'd never gotten that verse on Still, I might have just canceled the project entirely and gave up on rap. I'm very grateful to have him in my life. He is a very good person. And the last one is one of my non-artist friends. It was the one I mentioned in the third flashback of Just Word skit. The person who confronted me about all the shit I used to say. Just Words is a completely true story, by the way. It was April 2025 when they confronted me about it. They've been in my life for the past 3 years, 4 years. And I'm very grateful to them for being in my life and for never giving up on me and shit. I very much despise the person I used to be. I very much hate myself. And how I used to act, the things that I used to say without a second thought. I hate the way I look, the way I act. How bad I still am at rapping and singing. And a lot of other stuff, but I'm glad I have people that still choose to be in my life, despite who I am. So yeah, that is my story, the story of my life, and yeah, happy Men's Mental Health Month, and I will see y'all later.